the workplace and to promote a positive approach to health and safety in the workplace. Okay? What that means is there's going to be a negative approach to health and safety in every workplace. And so there are indicators that shows if there is a positive or negative approach to health and safety. An example of a negative approach is if the number of accidents are increasing in the workplace, okay, then if the numbers are decreasing, that can be a positive approach to health and safety, okay. However, if it is decreasing, it might be as a result of underreporting, okay. Maybe if people report, they blame them for the incident that occurs, and so they begin to stop reporting. They no longer report, so there could be underreporting, okay. So it has a two side. But where people are encouraged to report and they report such incident and they don't blame them, they investigate the incident and actions are taken to reduce that number of occurrence, it's a positive approach to health and safety, okay. Looking at staff turnover can also be a negative approach to health and safety, okay. Where management is not committed to health and safety, resources are not made available, health and safety is not given a priority, it's also an indicator of a negative health and safety in the workplace, okay, approach. So the learning outcomes, by the end of the course, you'll be able to show an awareness of the importance of health and safety in the workplace. All right. Next, you're going to be able to show an understanding of hazard and risks. So in every workplace, there are hazards. Okay. And for every hazard, there are associated risks. Okay. For every hazard, there are associated risks. And then next, you should be able to show an understanding of the welfare requirements in the workplace to promote health and safety and well-being of staff and others, okay, which is now the responsibility of your employer. Your employer is to make these welfare facilities available, okay, for their staff and also visitors or contractors that might come to the workplace. Next is you're going to be able to show an understanding of the workplace safety procedure. There are established procedures as it relates to health and safety in every workplace. All right, by standard, there are laid down procedures that if we follow, we'll be doing well to achieve a good standard of health and safety in our various workplaces. Excuse me. So, like I mentioned earlier, I've also activated the video. So if you need to put on your video from a location, please click on that icon to activate your video so that we can see you also from our end. Okay, so that we know you're in. I'm just seeing a few. I can see Nafrc, your video is active. Sokoto 119CG Sokoto, your video is active. HQATC, your video is active. All right, NavCamp, Nafis, your videos are active. So please, others can do well to activate their videos. Okay, all right. So we'll move on. So any question, please, if you have any question, quickly drop that in the chat. If you have any question, do well to drop that in the chat for me. All right. While you do that, I move on. So session 1 is going to be an introduction to health and safety in the workplace. An introduction to health and safety in the workplace. By the end of the session, you'll be able to define the term health, safety, workplace, hazard, and risk, and also define accidents, causes, and importance of preventing accidents, and then state the benefits and consequences of good health and safety in the workplace. Okay. Then state the legislation that enforces health and safety in the UK. So like I mentioned to you, this is an international certification that is from the United Kingdom. But that doesn't stop us to look at some of the requirements or the regulations that enforces health and safety in Nigeria. So we're also going to be looking at that. Okay. But since it's a UK qualification training, we'll just look at some of those that applies to the UK and how it also relates to us here in Nigeria. Okay. Then also list the responsibility of employer and employee in relation to health and safety in the workplace. Okay, it's a shared responsibility. Everyone in the workplace have a part to play for us to achieve a good standard of health and safety in the workplace. And then also we're going to be able to identify the penalties for breaching health and safety legislation. All right. So now, what is health? Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not just the absence of injury or infirmities. So it is the soundness of the body, soundness of your mind, how you're able to interact with others in the workplace. It's talking about your social well-being. Okay. So it's not just that somebody is not having any form of disability or infirmities or diseases. You need to consider the mental state of the person. How sound is that person? There are a lot of people that are in the workplace that have mental ill health condition. And this does not show on the surface. It's over time, you begin to notice there is something quite wrong with this person because it doesn't show. Okay. The mental health bill has been passed because globally, for every 5 persons in the workplace, okay, about 2 to 3 of them are having a mental ill health condition. Okay, so now there is this advocacy to ensure mental wellness in the workplace. Okay, so you need to consider these 3 areas if you want to ensure that there is a healthy person in the workplace. And then safety is a state of being safe. All right, the condition of being protected from harm or other danger. Okay, we can further say is a state, all right, of freedom from danger, staying away from the danger zone. And then workplace is a place where people work, such as an office or factory. So every one of us connected today, we are from our we are presently in our various workplaces. I am in my own workplace. Okay, this is where I'm delivering this training session from, right here in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Okay, and then hazard is anything that has a potential to cause harm, right? And I can go further to say any condition, any circumstance, any situation with the potential to cause harm. A puddle of water on the floor is a hazard. It only has a potential to cause harm. It doesn't mean it has caused harm. There has to be an interaction with that water on the floor for harm to occur. So that brings us to the next point, which is risk. So for every hazard, there are associated risks. So you need to consider the level of risk associated with the hazard. And so risk is the chance. Risk is the likelihood that a hazard will cause harm, all right, together with the consequence. Now, this can be on a scale, okay? How large will be the consequence? What will be the magnitude of the consequence? It's going to be high, it's going to be medium, or it's going to be low, okay? So this is a background. So at this point, I'll quickly share a video for us to watch from our various hand, okay? It's going to be a link, and so, all right, that's fine. 453 BSG, I've gotten your message, thanks. So I'm going to share that link now for everyone in the chat box. From your location, wherever you have assigned, will click on that link and then you can watch. And so after a few minutes, I'll come back and then we would have to look at that video together. I'm going to share so you can take notes, okay? You can take notes. I'll randomly select one unit to speak about what they've learned from the video. So I'll be looking at maximum of 3. It's a very large class, so I cannot ask everyone to share their input. So, but we'll learn from the 3 persons. So I'll cut across the various locations. Okay, I'll just pick the unit, and then one person from that unit will help us present whatever you have learned from that video. Okay. So be ready to click on the link so that we can start at the same time and end at the same time. Okay. All right, so it's a YouTube video. It's going to redirect you to the YouTube. So I've dropped that in the chat. Let's quickly click on it and Please, if you are done with the video, indicate in the chat box done so that we can know when to continue, please. Thank you. Okay, the first team to show to me here that they are done is 053 HQ NAF, followed by HQ SOC and 301 HAG. So I'll start with the three of you are going to be sharing with us. So let's start with 053 HQ NAF camp. Please share your input with us, what you've learned from this, from the video you just saw. Please go ahead. I'm going to click on you to be able to unmute now and share that with us, okay? All right, please go ahead and unmute now.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, morning once again, sir.
From 053 Spinaf Camp.
Okay.
The first lesson we learned from this video is that we should be conscious of a near miss. Because the man in the morning when he was going to work, he was nearly hit by a vehicle, but he didn't pay attention to it. He continued. And secondly, while he was trying to remove the load at hand, he was not conscious of his own safety. He wasn't putting on any seatbelt to hold him in case of any fault.
Okay.
And thirdly, the other workers around, none of them was informed about first aid. So none of them reacted quickly to give him any first aid.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah. So I'll move to the next, and that's, I think that's HQ SOC Sokoto. I'm going to click on you now to allow you to unmute. So let's hear from you. Please, something different from what the previous people shared.
Morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Morning.
Yes, sir. So the first observation from HQSOC is that the man was not, he was using on his PPE, personal protective equipment, but the helmet was putting on, he didn't clamp it. So immediately it was falling off. The helmet went off even before he got to the ground. The helmet was already there. So the purpose of the helmet was not being performed because of improper use of the helmet, sir. Then secondly, sir, he didn't harness himself. He didn't harness himself. He didn't take care of his personal safety, as the LRO said also, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. No personal protective equipment was worn. Okay, that resulted to a fall from height. Okay, let's hear from 301 HAG now. So I've asked you to unmute. Please unmute and share with us. Three-oh-one, are you there? We can't hear you.
Yes, I'm morning, sir.
Yeah, well done, sir.
From the video we watched, I noticed. My name is Flying Officer SD Romero.
Okay.
From the video we watched, I observed that the workers in the video were not particular about their safety. There was a man on the ground that took off his helmet to clean sweat while he was working, while they were trying to lift up the metals. And then the particular individual that tried to remedy the metals that were stuck also had a helmet on, but it was not strapped. Now, in trying to remedy it, he should have had somebody behind him alongside having the harness, so that in the case that the harness does not even work, the individual behind will serve as a safety or as a guard, and then the person can pull him back up. But there was no individual behind, and then there was no harness. That's what she was down to before. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, HAG, for sharing that with us. Okay. I think I'll just take from one more person and then I'll put my own input. All right, I'll add my own inputs. Let's just hear from Squadron Leader UU Ubuji. Squadron Leader UU Ubuji, I'm going to unmute you now so you can share with us. Just a moment. I'm trying to locate you. Okay. All right. So, Squadron Leader UU Ubuji, let's hear from you, please.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Yeah, in addition to what other units said, I also observed that there was a time when the lady was walking with the child because he was paying so much attention to her phone. He let the child walk and they were moving towards the road. So if that probably something had happened, probably the child would have been hit by a car or something. That's my observation.
Okay. Thank you. You can mute your mic now, please. Thank you. All right. Thanks everyone for your contribution for spotting some things. So I'm just going to add my own input to it. Now, if you observe carefully, this was a man that woke up in the morning. The wife is pregnant. All right. I want to believe while he sat on his bed, he was thinking in his mind, another day, man must work, man must provide for his family. Okay. He took his bath, he kissed his family and stepped out for that day. On his way out, he stopped at a grocery store where he bought the food he's going to eat for that day. And coming out, he was almost knocked down by a vehicle. So in safety, we call that near miss. Any near miss that is not reported to your supervisor, your manager, or your employer, and that is not investigated, it is an accident waiting to happen. So that man from home, you could see that he's not himself, either fatigue or he's tired or so many things running through his mind because of his current state. He ignored that first incident, which is a near miss, and continued to work that day. While at work, if you observe that video carefully, a toolbox meeting it's something we do in health and safety. It's a term used for briefing the workers about the health and safety aspect of the job for that day and their part in it, their responsibility in ensuring their safety and the safety of others. And then what the employer has made available to ensure their safety will be communicated during that toolbox meeting. And he wasn't paying attention. He was on his phone. Who was he chatting with? He was chatting with his wife. Where was his wife? His wife was at the recreational center playing with the child. All right. So he was distracted. He missed the instruction for that day. I believe during that toolbox meeting, they should have shared with him that he needs a body harness if he's going to work at height. Working on the scaffold is work at height, which I believe he must have missed during that toolbox meeting. So while at height, if you observe, he had removed his hard hat, wiped his sweat. Work has not really started. He's already tired. Work just got started. Remember, if you look back to the beginning of that video, you can see the man was already tired from home. He's not sound. So many things going on, okay, which he ignored. All he would have just done is to either call his supervisor or his manager that morning to say, I'm not sure I'm fit to come to work today. Can I take a day off? They could consider that, or they'll say, okay, come to work, and they'll refer him to their clinic or the hospital to maybe properly assess him and check. But you see, he didn't pay attention to his health status. He got to work. So while at height, he put his first foot on the guardrail. That in itself is an unsafe act. He noticed it was not comfortable. He put his other foot on it. And then while doing that, he was overreaching to unstock the load. Then he fell from that height. I thought he died. Every accident occurs as a result of unsafe acts and unsafe condition, or a combination of both. In his own case, he fell from that height as a result of unsafe act. Putting your foot on a guardrail is an unsafe act. The guardrail is only there to protect you from falling, not to stand on it. In case you slip or you fall sideways, it will protect you. Then the additional control which you are supposed to have was the body harness, all right? The harness that would have attached to his body and then also attach it to an anchorage point on the scaffold, which wasn't present, which I believe must have been communicated during the toolbox meeting. So both were not adhered to, which he slipped, fell, and I thought he died until the later part of that video. Now, if you look at the later part, you could see now that the wife is in pain. The wife now had to take up the responsibility of the husband to provide for the family. All right, he has to take up a job, get a nanny to cater for the man, cater for the child. All right. And so she was overwhelmed and noticed she was crying, tired. You can imagine what that home will look like. So think about the pain and the suffering to the man. Think about the pain and the suffering to the woman. Think about the pain and suffering to the child. That child that was crying was in the womb when that man had that accident, meaning that man had been in that condition for months. Think about the pain and suffering to the man. Think about the damage to the reputation of that organization, the kind of low morale the workforce will have because they saw their colleague fell from a height that day and became disabled. Think about the impact on their mental health. Think about the impact on everyone that is related to that man. So I want to tell you today that no job is too important to put your life at risk. You know this popular saying, soldier go, soldier come, barracks still remains. Meaning, if you die on the job, that job will continue. So if your employer has put in place measures to manage health and safety, you also have responsibility to make use of those measures. Some of those measures can be training, like you're attending today. Training. So you follow the training you have received. You do not violate safety procedures. If there are laid down procedures, try to understand the procedures. If there are challenges that are not allowing you to understand those procedures, or there are challenges around the procedures, you need to voice out. You need to speak out so that they can take necessary steps to introduce adequate and robust control measures that can manage your health and safety. So when it comes to health and safety, it's not just physical harm. There are some that affect you internally. Exposure to harmful substance. What you saw in this video is a physical harm, somebody falling from a height and resulted to an injury. There are other harms that are likely to occur in the workplace. So we have a part to play. Yes, bulk of it lies on the employer by ensuring that there is a safe place of work, providing the safe tools to do the job, providing the right equipment to do the job. However, you must follow the training you've received. You must cooperate with your employer in ensuring that everything that has been provided for your health and safety are made use of, and you also look out for others. You must not take shortcuts, okay? You must not violate health and safety procedure. By so doing, you'll be supporting your employer to ensuring a safe place of work and also to ensure you go back home to your family. The ending of that video says what? Your family needs you. So when you're leaving home in the morning for work or at any time that you have been assigned to work, always have this at the back of your mind that today I'll return back to my family. Or no matter how long it is that you're off, you must tell yourself today or when I'm going to return back to my family safe and healthy, because I also have a part to play to ensure my own safety and well-being at work. All right. So thank you for watching that video. I'm going to quickly move now. All right. So if you have any other inputs, you can do well to drop that in the chat. Maybe as I was explaining, some things came up in your mind. Okay. You could just drop that in the chat. So all workers have a right to work. All workers have a right to work in a place where risks to their health and safety are properly controlled. There are controls that are no longer effective. There are controls that are inadequate. So there is a need to properly control those risks. So health and safety is about stopping you getting hurt at work or ill through work. Your employer is responsible. However, you must help. It's a shared responsibility. Bulk of it lies on the employer, but you also have a part to play. And the source is from the Health and Safety Executive. So this is the enforcement authority in the United Kingdom. In Nigeria, we have the Directorate of Occupational Health and Safety in the Ministry of Labor and Productivity. They are responsible for enforcing the Factory Act. But we do not have a robust law like we have in the United Kingdom that covers all workplace. But we have similar law in Lagos, which is called the Lagos State Safety Law, that is enforced by the Lagos State Safety Commission. Okay? They move around ensuring safe working practices. And if you are violating that law, you will be persecuted. And if you are found wanting, you will pay fines or somebody might likely go to jail. Okay? So that's it. So from here, we'll move on to risk assessment. So this is already 11, and I wouldn't want to move beyond 11. Let's observe our break. So like I said, the break is for 15 minutes. So by 11:15, we should be back in class to continue, okay? So it gives opportunity to stretch and move around. So by 11:15, we'll continue. See you soon. Thank you. All right, welcome back. Can you confirm that you can hear me? Please do the confirmation in the chat if you can hear me. All right. Sorry, welcome back. We're trying to address some technical issues. Please confirm also now that you can hear me from the chat. I want to share my screen now so we can continue. Please confirm that you can hear me. All right, thank you, Mr. Enezu or Mrs. Enezu Chidima. Thanks for the confirmation. I hope we're able to rest a little and come back refreshed to proceed with today's class. Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you everyone for confirming. All right, so we're just trying to resolve some technical issues with the HQ. So that has been resolved. So it's good for us to proceed. So before we left, we're looking at what health and safety is, all right? And we're able to establish that this information we got is from the Health and Safety Executive, which is the regulatory body in the United Kingdom. And we also shared that in Lagos, we have the Lagos State Safety Commission, and in Nigeria as a whole, we have the Directorate from the Ministry of Labor and Productivity. Okay, so those are those that enforce some of the laws that we have as it relates to health and safety. Okay, so now we'll move on. So what we'll talk about risk assessment in level 3, we're going to be diving deeper to this, but in this class, it's just a way of introducing you to what risk assessment is. So you need to know that by law, the employer must reduce or control risk of injury or ill health to the employee. Okay, it is required that the employer carry out risk assessment. So it's an integral part of health and safety. It is a tool that is used to prevent accident and incident from occurring in the workplace. So any organization that wants to achieve a good standard of health and safety must carry out risk assessment regularly. So risk assessment helps to prevent injury and ill health, thus reducing the number of accidents and first aid cases. Okay, so it's part of a safety management system, which is what we'll be looking at in your level 3. We'll also look at it in level 2, but not as elaborate as it's going to be in level 3. So workplace accident and ill health. So work and workplace can cause harm, and accidents can happen. So an accident is an undesired circumstances which gives rise to ill health, injury, damage, production losses, or increased liability. When it comes to an accident, the outcome is going to be negative. There's always going to be a loss, one form of loss or the other. It can bring about downtime. So there will be production losses. Okay. Now the source still remains the health and safety executive. And then work and workplace can also make employee fall ill. So depending on the work, the activities that are involved, all right, some workplaces involves emission of harmful substances, which can have a chronic effect. So people might be exposed to these harmful substances without knowing that harm is occurring to their health. Okay, so in your own workplace too, depends on the kind of activity that you are carrying out at a particular time, determines the kind of harm they are likely to be exposed to, or the hazard or hazardous substance you're likely to be exposed to. Okay, so this can bring about ill health condition. Okay, so what are the causes of accidents? Accident can be caused by slip, trips, and falls. Okay, look at your workplace, right? There are some trailing cables, wet floor, contaminated floor surfaces that can cause accident. And record has shown that this is one of the biggest cause of major injury in the workplace. All right, so we also have manual handling, the posture that people adopt to handle a load, incorrect carrying, lifting, and moving of an object. Where you adopt an awkward posture when you are handling a load can cause damage to your system. It can be repetitive strain injury or musculoskeletal disorder. Then we have struck by falling or flying objects. Okay, people walking at a height, an object falling and striking people on the ground, or while they are machining or drilling or carrying out operation using handheld tools Object can fly off and strike people either by puncturing the eyes or also striking the body. Then falls from height, which is the biggest cause of death in the workplace. So our work brings us to a condition where we need to work at height. And if not properly planned, it can cause people falling from such height and resulting to death or major injury. Okay, just like we had in the video we saw, the previous video we saw. Next is contact or collision with machinery or moving objects or vehicles. All right. Then hazardous substances such as chemicals, which can bring about respiratory issues. All right, where people are exposed to maybe asbestos fiber, all right, or some fumes, byproducts from soldering, welding, or whatever activities they are carrying that emit these harmful substances. All right, electricity, okay, at work. No workplace that does not make use of electricity. So if workers are exposed to naked wires, it can bring about harm. Then also fire. You can tell the prevalent rate of fire incidents in the country, all right, from poor conditions, poorly handled processes. Maybe people are trying to get fuel, and then this fuel come in contact with hot surfaces, and it results to an explosion and fire. Okay, so these are one of the main hazards in the workplace. The accident can result from fire. Then we also have stress, which is also one of the biggest killers now in the workplace, right? Where people are exposed to excessive work demand, all right? People are subjected to certain work condition that is beyond their ability, all right? Or maybe issues that come with them from their home, all right? Adding up to the work demand can bring about stress, okay? So stress is not only work related, it can also be family related, okay? Maybe they lost a loved one and that is impacting on their stress level, okay? Then added trying to concentrate at work, all right? This can increase their level of stress. And we know stress to be adverse reaction people have to external pressure, okay? Then complacency, negligence, and ignorance. So people that I'm usually concerned about in the workplace are those that have been on the job for quite some time. They get so used to the process and they begin to violate safety procedures. They begin to ignore rules. They no longer follow the laid down rules. Complacency are setting, and complacency can kill. All right. We also have negligence, deliberate act of forgetting or not even following the safe working practices. Okay, people neglect rules, they ignore rules. All right, all this can bring about accidents. So according to the Frank Betts, this is an American researcher. We'll talk more about this also as we move on in level 2 and 3. Okay, talked about the accident ratio. And if you can look at the top of the pyramid, we have 1 as death, 10 as serious accident, 30 as minor accident, 600 near misses. Okay, so this ratio is just to tell us the relationship with several outcomes in the workplace. Okay, the one at the base, it has the largest number, which is 600. Okay, what that means is in every workplace, we have more near misses than the number of deaths. So in health and safety, we are trying to prevent death from occurring. So this near misses gives us valuable data for us to begin to take proactive steps to manage those occurrences. If not, it's likely going to result to a death. It doesn't mean that if one of the events that occurs is going to be a near miss, it can likely become a death. But when we start having more near misses in our workplace, these are indicators that something is wrong and we need to take action to manage those near misses, because any near miss that is not looked into is an accident waiting to happen. So for every 1 death, there are 10 serious accidents, 30 minor accidents, and 600 near miss based on the research that he carried out for accidents that occurred in a number of countries or states, rather, in the United States of America. So he was able to come up with this ratio, drawing our attention to pay attention to those events that actually did not cause a loss. Okay, so if you have accident books in your workplace and you document those accidents, you need to pay attention to those near miss as much as you pay attention to death or those that cause serious accidents or minor accidents. Somebody slipped, nothing happened. What caused the slip? Wet floor. Why do we have a wet floor? Are the cleaners not cleaning? Or maybe there is a refrigerator or air conditioning unit that is leaking water to the floor. How can we prevent the leak of water to the floor? We see that every day in our workplace. I would not pay attention to ignore it. Maybe the first person or the second person that came in contact with it, nothing happened. The third person that might come in contact with that wet floor might not be lucky. It might result to a disabling injury. So that's why we need to pay attention to near misses. It gives us valuable information that can help us to manage events that occur in our workplace. So benefits of a good health and safety in the workplace. All right, it can bring about healthy workforce where we have a good standard of health and safety. The workers will be healthy, their mental health is sound, social well-being, as well as their physical health is okay. Then motivated workforce, where workers have been taken care of, the workforce will be motivated, and then enhanced reputation and brand equity of the organization. And then increased productivity and profitability, reduce accident rates and absenteeism from work due to ill health. So where workers are ill, they will not be able to come to work, okay? They have to take care of their health, and so that will bring about absenteeism. Then also prevention of prosecutions and compensation claims, especially where there is a law. If an accident should occur, the enforcement authority might likely prosecute the organization for failing to prevent harm to their workers. Okay, if you look at that video that happened now, that man was taken care of. So at some point, he was moved back home. So whatever compensation plan they have, maybe they've exhausted it, they would have compensated him, they would have taken care of him, they took him to the hospital. But now he's back home. His family are the ones taking care of him now. Okay, so they will have to compensate the victim of the accident. So where accident occur, imagine having to pay compensation to several workers. Think about the cost to that organization. So where there's a good standard of health and safety, it prevents such prosecution as well as compensation claims. Then also lower insurance premium. So there are countries where it is a legal requirement for you to obtain an insurance policy for your workforce. It's compulsory. In places like the United Kingdom, it is at a minimum of £5 million. So that's not a small money for you to insure your workforce or insure your business if you must obtain that. Okay. Now, what are the consequences? The consequences will be the opposite of all that we've shared. All right. Opposite of all that we've shared. Example will be what? Occurrence of serious injuries, work-related illness, and even death. Low productivity resulting from loss of job or work. Poor public reputation, low employee morale, and then high legal costs in terms of prosecutions, fines, and compensation claims. High staff costs, including medical costs, accrued from sick off days. And then increased accident rates, which include damage to buildings and equipment. So looking at the laws now, the health and safety laws and regulation. All right, so we have the health and safety laws, and it is there to protect people at work. It serves also guide the employer to put necessary measures in place to prevent harm to these people. Okay, it plays a role in helping the employer and also tries to prevent harm to the people. So the health and safety regulations are the secondary laws, and it helps to inform the employer what must be done and also allows the inspectors from the enforcement authority, okay, to check on the employer's level of compliance. So where there is no compliance, they can take further action to either serve you notices, which include improvement notice or prohibition notice, or they might likely prosecute you if you fail to comply with such notices, right? So what are the laws that enforces health and safety in the United Kingdom? Within the UK, health and safety is given legality by legislation and regulation. So we'll talk about the legislation. These are the primary laws. Then the regulations are the secondary law, which are specific to the various areas as it relates to health and safety. So we have the two copies. One is the Health and Safety at Work Act, ETC, right? 1974, which is the primary law. It's an enabling act. So it enables the government to formulate regulations and policies. So one of such regulation, which is a core one, is known as the Management of Health and Safety Regulation 1999. And this is the regulation that enforces or ensures that employer carries out a risk assessment. So under this regulation, it is a legal requirement for the employer to carry out a risk assessment, and they must document it, all right, and also communicate the finding of the risk assessment to the workforce. So if you look at Nigeria, for instance, we have the Factories Act. That's one of the popular laws that we have as it relates to health and safety, and is limited. It doesn't cut across all workplace. So we are looking forward to having something similar as the Health and Safety at Work, okay, which is the primary law. Then we have some regulations as it applies to the oil and gas industry, okay? It applies to some other workplaces, but we don't have such that covers all work. But when you move to Lagos State, we have a law as it relates to health and safety, and that applies to the workplaces within the Lagos states. Okay, it's limited also. All right. So, what are the responsibilities of employer under this law? The employer must provide a healthy and safe workplace for the job to be done. Okay, must obtain employer's liability insurance. It's a must. You can't ignore this. You must put money aside to take care of any incident or injury that's likely to have occurred in your workplace. And then if it's a failing on your part, you will also have to compensate the victim. So it's a must. Then we have that the employer must have a competent health and safety advice and also develop a health and safety policy. Then undertake risk assessment and put up adequate controls for identified risk. Provide welfare facilities. Okay, this ensures comfort for the workers. And then provide information, instruction, training for the employee. So every chemical that comes into the workplace should come with adequate instruction. So it's the employers to either delegate someone that checks that the instructions accompany those chemicals, and then they are properly communicated to the workforce through training. That's if you work with chemical. Then there are some equipment that we use that is even a hazard in our workplace. You must inform your workers about the hazard associated with those equipment, and then the necessary controls that accompany those equipment and how to use them safely. So it's the responsibility of the employer to do so. Then employer must consult employees on health and safety matters. The employer is not always carrying out the operational arm of the job. He might be there to direct, set policies, formulate policies, all right, on how to ensure the job is done, all right? But he's not going to be there in the day-to-day running of that job. There are people that are involved in the operation, okay? So if you don't consult with them, how are you able to develop system that will help manage the risks that arise from their workplace? So the law is saying you should consult. If when you're even putting up those controls in place, ensure you carry them along. If you're going to be carrying risk assessments, you must carry the workforce along when you want to carry out a risk assessment. So because there are valuable inputs that will come from the workforce. So you don't just dump the measures on them. When you carry them along, then we can have a buy-in from the workers so that everyone will be committed to those measures that are put in place. Where they know that they are part of the people that developed those controls, there is no way they will not want to follow through with those controls. All right. Then also report certain types of accidents, diseases, dangerous occurrence to the appropriate authorities. So in the UK, for instance, we have a regulation that mandates employers to report certain types of accident that is likely to occur in their workplace. A death that has occurred in the workplace has to be reported to the enforcement authority. Even if they know about it or not, you don't try to, even if you try to shut your workforce that nobody should speak out, just like we have in some parts of the world, where if an accident occurs and it resulted to a death, they are usually swept under the carpet. They will just keep it low-key. Nobody's aware. Even the family's victim are not even compensated. No. There's a regulation that if they find out, it's going to be an offense in itself if you do not report it to the enforcement authority. All right. In the UK, we call them the Health and Safety Executive. In Nigeria, like Lagos State, we have them as the Lagos State Safety Commission. In the nation as a whole, we have the Ministry of Labor and Employment, a directorate in the ministry, which is known as the Occupational Health and Safety Department. All right. So employer's duties to others. So the employer does not only have duty to his employees, he also have duty of care to others. Example of it is that he must provide the health, safety, and welfare of employees, including the part-time, casual, and temporary, including contractors. The contractors coming to work for you, you are responsible for their health, their safety, and their welfare. That whatever you are putting in place must also consider those people. That when they come to your workplace and are carrying out a job on your behalf, you are responsible for their well-being. Also, the health and safety of anyone who visits or use the workplace and its equipment. You have a contractor that is coming and is using your work equipment, you are responsible. Or using your workplace, you are responsible. All right? So I'm seeing some messages dropping now. I don't know if that's for me or it's still attendance that's still being dropped. Okay, great. Attendance is still being shared. Okay. All right. So also the employer is responsible for members of the public. Whatever you do must not put the life of members of the public at risk. So if you emit harmful substances, you must manage them so that it doesn't get to the public and cause damage or ill health condition to members of the public. So you must consider them also. So employees' responsibility, remember I said it's a shared responsibility. Bulk of it lies on the employer. However, the employees also have a part to play. So the employee must take reasonable care of themselves and others. It's called duty of care. Whatever you are doing must not put you at risk or endanger your life. You must also consider your colleagues at work, other workers, as well as the public. Okay? Then we must follow the rules or procedures and work in a safe manner. So whatever rules that have been established in the workplace, you must follow it and then follow those procedures. And if there's any challenge around it, you have the right to report it so that actions can be taken to manage it. Then you must cooperate with your employer in assisting them to comply with the health and safety legislation. So meaning if your employer has informed you about the laws that are in place, the regulations that are in place, it is also your duty to understand it and comply with that law. All right, good. So you must report any unsafe act or condition to your supervisor. So if you have anything that relates to health and safety, you have to communicate it to your supervisor so that he can also take it further to either the management of the organization for further action. But your job is to ensure that you report it. Now, penalties for breaching health and safety legislation. Like in the UK, there are several penalties. Okay. As a member of IOSH, there have been several communications on our platform where people that have been issued fines in Lagos, they come to share with us that is this appropriate, right? Especially some people that are not aware that those laws exist. They come and share and ask professional advice that what should they do, that this is what has been issued to them by the Lagos State Safety Commission. They have to comply. They have to pay for those fines, okay? So ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So they have to. So we usually encourage them on how to go about it and to avoid a reoccurrence. But in the UK, for instance, it can result to closure of business. The business can be shut down if there's a failing. All right. So someone is drawing on our screen. So I just have to clean it. Then okay. So that's out now. Okay. Okay, there's another drawing here. So people are trying to move their mouse, and so they end up drawing. Okay. So closure of business, and then some of the offenses can be unlimited fine from the magistrate court or up to 12 months imprisonment. So directors can be sent to jail for a failings on health and safety. If you are found to have breached the law, you can be sent to jail for a 12-month imprisonment. That's from the magistrate court. Then from the crown courts, it can also be unlimited fines and up to 12 years and 2 years imprisonment. 2 good years, that's about 24 months. Okay, and it will be held on record. You'll be known as a criminal on your record. Okay, when you violate these laws. Now, we are done with this session. By the end of this session, you'll be able to define health, safety, and workplace and hazard and risk, and then define accident and importance of preventing accidents, and state the benefits and consequence of a good health and safety in the workplace, and then state the legislation that enforces health and safety in the UK. List the responsibilities of employer and employee in relation to health and safety in the workplace. Then identify the penalties for breaching health and safety legislation. So at this point, I'll just call randomly to have you on mute and share with us some of these things. So this way I ask my own question. And after this, if you have any question, indicate I will mute you to ask your question. All right. 041 CIS depot. Can somebody from your team quickly tell us the meaning of health? While you are doing that, 061 AMC, you tell us the meaning of safety. And then 105 CG, you tell us the meaning of workplace. And then next is 107 AMGBN, you tell us the meaning of hazard. And 109 CRG, you tell us the meaning of risk, okay? So one accordingly. So I started, the first person I mentioned to please unmute 041 CIS depot. So tell us the meaning of health. I'm going to allow you to unmute now and quickly share with us. Like I said, I would really want to encourage an interactive session, okay? So let me move. I will ask you to unmute now, 041 CIS depot. I'm asking you to unmute now so you can share with us, please. All right, I'm waiting for 041 CIS depot. Are you sharing with us your understanding of health? I can't hear you. People are speaking in chorus. I don't know if you are the one speaking. All right, go ahead. 041 CIS depot. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. 041 CIS depot, sir. Health is a state of being free from illness or injury. It can also it can be a state of a complete physical, mental, and social well-being.
All right, thank you.
Of illness or injury.
All right, great. Thank you. 041 CIS depot. Thank you. So let's move to the next person I called. That was 061 AMC, I believe, right? If I remember. Tell us what you understand by safety. So I've asked you to unmute now. Are you speaking? 061 AMC. 061 AMC, right? Go ahead. You are now unmuted. Let's hear from you. Okay, I don't think they are there. Let's hear from 105 CG. 105 CG. I'm asking you to unmute now. Let's hear from you. Can you share with us the meaning of safety?
Yes, sir. No, what you because obvious. Obvious. So you earlier asked us to define workplace.
Okay, go ahead, please. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, workplace refers to any location where someone or an individual perform their job or role or duties, which will include physical locations such as offices, factories, construction sites, etc.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So the next thing I asked to unmute, that was 061 AMC, right? They couldn't speak. So let's hear from 107 AMGBN. 107 AMGBN. Quickly.
Continue. That has is any condition or potential that has the ability to cause damage or harms to people.
Okay. Fantastic. So hazard is anything with the potential to cause harm or damage to people. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So we'll move to the last team to quickly share with us what they understand by risk. I think that was 109 CRG. 109 CRG. Let's hear from you. 109 CRG. I've asked you to unmute. Are you having difficulty? Okay, maybe I should call on another group since they're having they might be having difficulty doing that. So let's hear from 115 SOG. 115 SOG. Are you there? I've asked you to unmute. I don't know if you're having difficulty. 115 SOG. Just click on your screen to unmute. So I just want to hear from you. I want to be sure we're all together. All right. So in case they are not there, anyone can just indicate from your end by raising your hand, and then I'll call on you to help us share quickly.
I'm on this out. Flight
Yeah.
Lieutenant PL.
All right.
Special operations.
All right. Thank you.
Risk is the likelihood that a hazard will cause harm.
Okay. Risk is the likelihood that the hazard will cause harm. Fantastic. That means just because the hazard exists doesn't necessarily mean that harm is always going to occur. One thing we need to think about is the level of risk associated with the hazard. Thank you. So can someone also help us, just indicate with your hand up and I will call you to do that. Can you quickly tell us the term accident? Define accident for us. If you know, please raise your hand. All right. 119 CG 109, right? Did I see 109 just now? Where are you? 119 CG Sokoto raised their hand. Okay, so please unmute. Let's hear from you.
An accident. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you now.
Okay. An accident is an unplanned event that results to harm, injury, or death.
Okay, an accident is an unplanned event that results to harm, injury, or death. All right, thank you. So let's hear from another team. Can you mention some of the penalties for breaching a health and safety legislation? So just indicate with your hand up and I'll call you. If you know the response to this question, please just indicate. All right, Nafrc, and let's start with Nafrc. Okay, Naf, can unmute to share with us now, please. I've asked you to unmute. Go ahead, Nafrc. Nafrc, you can unmute to share now. Okay, I think now Faris is having difficulty unmuting. So who else hand is up? Now Farisi, I've asked you to unmute, but I think you're having difficulty doing that. Which other person, which other group can respond to this question, please? Now Farisi, I just tried. Okay, go ahead. You are now on mute, not muted. Let's hear from you. Go ahead. We can't hear you.
Accident is an unplanned event that can happen at any time in which we are not expecting of it to happen.
Accident is an unplanned event, right? Okay. I'm asking for penalties for breaching health and safety legislation. That's the question I'm asking now. What are the penalties for breaching a health and safety legislation, for breaching the law?
Penalties for breaching health and legislative law ranges from closure of business in the magistrate is fine and or 12 years imprisonment, 12 months imprisonment, 12 months imprisonment, Well, in the Crown Court, it is fine and or 2 years imprisonment.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's proceed. Somebody also wrote that infinite odds 9 penalties, closure of business. Good. All right, thank you. So let's move on quickly because we have less than an hour to end this class. So any question, if you have any question at this point, please indicate in the chat for me or just raise your hand. Indicate with a raise of hand. If you have any question you want me to address before we move to the next part. All right, so that means no question. Since no one has indicated, there's no hand up, so we proceed. So now we're looking at introduction to workplace hazard and risk. Introduction to workplace hazard and risk, okay? So let's build on what we defined earlier. So by the end of the session, you will be able to state the different types of hazards and risk associated with various common work-related accidents, all right? So hazards of risk and fire. Hazards of risk and fire is what we're going to be starting with. So due to the nature of this class, if it was a physical class, I would have been able to ask you questions directly, okay? But since it's virtual and considering the number of people, we'll just move quickly, okay? So like we know that fire is a hazard in the workplace, but there are certain things that contribute to fire starting in the workplace. But first, we need to know that fire is a chemical reaction that produces heat, light, and flame. And so when three components come together, fire will start. Example is the oxygen, source of ignition, and fuel. When these three things mix, fire is going to start. So if the three come together in certain condition, a fire is highly likely to start. So that is why the identification of fire hazard focuses on these three components. Oxygen is always available in the atmosphere, okay? So it might be difficult to be able to manage oxygen, but there are cases where we have oxygen cylinders that are used in hospitals and residential care homes or in welding operation. They can be a source of ignition, or it can they can be a source of oxygen. I beg your pardon. Okay, so the best of firefighters are those that are able to keep these three apart at all times: oxygen, fuel, or heat. So it's difficult to put oxygen, but if you are able to focus on keeping the source of fuel and heat source apart at all times, you'll be doing well to prevent a fire from starting. And what are these sources of ignition? We have hot surfaces, right? Smoking, cooking, right? Welding process, grinding process that generate heat, or friction between surfaces that generate heat, okay? If you keep that away from flammable substances, right? Fuel, paper, cardboard, wood, and all that, we serve as the fuel source. You'll be doing well to what? Fight a fire. So fire happens if care is not taken to control the three components of fire. Okay, so also poor housekeeping and waste control, where rubbish are accumulated, okay, or poor storage of combustible materials, poor control of cigarettes, smoking outside the workplace, inadequate control of flammable substances, for example, unsuitable or careless storage or careless use of flammable materials, lack of care when using heat-producing equipment, for example, when you are using portable heaters, or obstruction of ventilation for heaters, machinery, or electrical appliance, lack of fire precautions and electrical maintenance, or electrical equipment left switched on when not in use, can be a hazard of fire. So the common causes include smoking, arson, deliberate act of setting a property or a building to fire is known as arson. Then faulty electrical equipment, cooking, poor housekeeping, welding and soldering, misusing equipment, etc. So the hazard, flames and heat, smoke, lack of oxygen, crushing injuries from building collapse, maybe fire starts and the building is falling off. Then no access for exit. And then risk is breathing heated air can kill, burns and scalds, smoke can kill. Without oxygen, the body will slowly lose consciousness and then the person can stop breathing. Okay. Then crush injuries can trap a person from escaping the event of a fire, and then block exit can stop persons from getting out from a building where a fire has started. Okay, the next we're looking at is hazards of risk of slips, trips, and falls. If you remember earlier, I told you that record has shown that this is the biggest cause of disabling injuries or major injuries in the workplace. So slip, trip, and falls have shown to be the reasons why people sustain disabling injuries. Maybe somebody slip from the floor, all right? Or depending on the kind of footwear they are wearing and the kind of floor surfaces they have, okay, what do they fall onto can increase the harm that would occur. So slips normally occur when there is a poor contact between the footwear and the floor surface. So trips occur when feet are obstructed so that the person loses balance. So every workplace needs to draw up a plan to prevent slips and trips. All right. So the common causes are wet floors, flooring in poor condition, maybe damaged floor, holes on the floor, cracked tiles, bad tiles on the staircase are examples, damaged steps, inappropriate footwear, trailing electrical cables or wires, poor lighting conditions, all right, or horseplay, okay? Then wet floors risk include dislocation, right? Fractures, sprains, and head injuries. Areas with work equipment such as a dishwasher, deep fat fryer or grill that can leak or splash water on the floor. Those areas attention should be paid to such areas. Then trailing cables, risk include the same as that of wet floor. Therefore, inappropriate footwear, the risk include tripping, falling, or sliding, which can cause injuries such as fractures, dislocation, head injuries. Now, we move to stress. Stress is defined as what? Adverse reaction people have to external pressure. So in the workplace, people are likely to be faced with stress, okay? Their working condition can bring about stress, okay? Where there is so much work to be done, this can bring about stress, okay? So like I said, stress can be described as an adverse reaction that some people have to external pressure. Some people can work comfortably in a stress environment. Stress even motivates them. When they're under stress, when they're under pressure, they get to do the job. While some people cannot cope in such environments, okay? So many employees find it difficult to admit that they're experiencing stress as a result of their work and may be reluctant to report the problem for fear of stigma. Other people openly doubt that stress really exists, where they're already used to that kind of a workplace, where they are subject to stress, so they are used to it. They even doubt if stress exists. However, stress has overtaken musculoskeletal disorder as the biggest stated cause of working days lost through injury or ill health. So statistics indicate that the health, education, local and central government and financial service sector have the highest incidence and prevalence of work-related stress. Okay? So you check your place, check your work. Is your work putting you under stress? You need to manage stress, because one way also to identify your stressors, right? In my class, I asked them, if they say, if they are going through stress and they receive a bank alert, the stress will disappear. Meaning what has aggravated their stress is because they are broke. So if you know being broke increases your stress level, try not to go broke. Why some persons, you tell them, how do you manage your stress? They say, no matter the stress they are going through, just give me. When they go hungry, it increases their stress level. So try not to go hungry, because it can increase your stress. Why am I saying this? Record has shown that stress can lead to other ill health conditions. And so there are symptoms that you can use to know where there is a lack of concentration, maybe you're undergoing stress. Change in your normal behavior or mood. Check people that easily change mood in the workplace, can be as a result of stress. Raised blood pressure, frequent headache, poor relationship with other colleagues or staff in the workplace. They become irritable, being irritable, right? Showing indecisiveness. They begin to drink excessively, or they begin to smoke more than normal. They consume 5 packs, 3 packs in a day. It can be as a result of stress. Loss of appetite or weight, backache, or even ulcer. Some people can even suffer sleeplessness, indigestion, and fatigue. In severe cases, stress can lead to mental problems, such as depression and even a nervous breakdown, or can even lead to heart disease. So, but you need to know that you need to recognize that there is a difference between stress and pressure. Some external pressures can have positive effects, helping us to be more productive. Then some people actually thrive under short-term added pressure, and our bodies are designed to meet this short-term demand. But when it becomes excessive, you need to manage it. So there are triggers to stress. As we progress in our studies and we get to level 2, 3, we can talk about that more in detail. Okay, but this is just the foundation. Okay, so let's move on. What are the hazards? Tight work deadlines, lack of training to perform a task. You are subjected to do some job that you have not been trained to do. Can what be a hazard of stress? Then exposure to violence and bullying. Many people are being bullied at work. A superior demeaning a subordinate, speaking negative words to the subordinate, insulting the person, putting the person into condition that can increase their stress, taking out tasks from them, right? Making them feel redundant, all right? That can be bullying. Then lack of clarity on work to be done, where people are not informed or they are not giving the full information about the job to do. I know in some cases you're in the military, and some of the things that you get is that obey the last order or the last command. So you must do as you are told. Some of these can also bring about stress, where you do not have clarity on the work to be done. Then also noisy, too cold, clumsy workspaces is the hazard of stress. Excessive family pressure. Everyone comes to work to earn a living, all right? So they want to make some pay to take care of themselves, take care of their family. Now, school fees is coming, right? This is September. A new term is here. The school fees is not as second term, third term, all right, or other terms. So now this maybe are moving from one level to another level. So now the amount that is required is higher than expected also, or they, because of the condition, the economy, they've increased the school fees. And now being able to meet that can bring about pressure that now can be transferred from home to work. In Nigeria currently, there is increase in the price of goods and commodity. That is also can add to stress, all right? You bring that to the workplace, added to the demand in your work, can aggravate stress level. Okay, what are the risks? Can bring about changes in appetite, frequent headache, like I mentioned, substance misuse, increased anxiety, mental health issues, depression and burnout, as well as physical health problems. Now, next we look at is manual handling. Okay, we define manual handling as the use of bodily force to support a load, either by lifting, pulling, pushing, or carrying. So when workers adopt awkward posture, it can bring about manual handling injuries when they're handling a load. Okay, so manual handling occurs in almost every workplace in the world. So at any one time, someone is moving objects as part of their everyday work activity is known as manual handling. So it could be an administration assistant moving a small pile of paper from one side of the desk to another. It could be a shop assistant stacking packs of bottles, or a checkout assistant moving goods from the conveyor to the scanner. It could also be a builder lifting bags of sand and cement to tip them into a mixer, or it could be any number of actions that involve moving something from one place to another. So the common activity causes, that is this common activity causes more than 1/3 of all injuries lasting over 3 days that are reported each year in the United Kingdom. If you bring it back to a place like Nigeria, where we don't have regulations that mandate people to report certain types of accidents that happen, we might not have such records or such data to tell. But we know in the construction industry, and even in our offices, we have to move heavy equipment, move heavy load. This can bring about musculoskeletal disorder. If you are here, usually experience lower back pain, check how you manage load. It can also be as a result of the sitting posture, the way you sit at work. You sit for a long period of time and you adopt an awkward posture, it can bring about lower back pain. But another thing that can cause lower back pain is when you move heavy loads that are beyond your ability and you adopt an awkward posture, that can bring about this manual handling. So over 1 million people suffer from musculoskeletal disorder, often back pain, that are caused or made worse by their current or past work. So manual handling is the most common cause of injuries leading to absence from work. So what are the hazards and risks of manual handling? Hazard includes load, the task to be done, the environment where this task is done, and then the individual. Excuse me, please. Okay, so I have a male person at my door, sorry. So let's proceed. So risks include back injuries, hernia, soft tissue injuries, cord sprains, strains, as well as trapped nerves, etc. So the next we're looking at is electricity. Electricity, right? No workplace that electricity is not used. I've not seen a workplace where electricity is not used. So about 5 people die at work every year from electrocution or electric burns. In addition, about 100 people are injured in electrical accidents. So these figures cover only the reported accident. And there are many other incidents in which people receive an electric shock but do not suffer any lasting injury. So some are not even reported at all. All right. So what are the hazards and risk of electricity? Hazard includes 1, overloaded sockets or bad sockets. The team there last time they came for their risk assessment, that was level 3, they were able to identify some of their sockets that are overloaded. Just because the socket exists doesn't mean it has the capacity to carry the appliance you are plugging into it. For instance, you see where people will plug microwave they'll plug washing machine, they'll plug water heater to a socket because it has available opening. You need to know the rating of that socket before you plug appliances to it. If not, it can become an overloaded socket. Where sockets are bad and people keep managing them, they can see obvious signs of burns on this socket and they still use them. All right. Risk include electric shock, burns, fire, and eventually death. So next we look at is hazard and risk of hazardous substance. What is a hazardous substance? In many workplaces, we use hazardous substances. Okay, so this substance has the tendency to put people at risk. Okay, hazardous substance is one that is defined as being one or more of this, which include harmful or irritants. You can know hazardous substance because it is harmful and it causes irritation. It is toxic, meaning it is poisonous. It's very toxic, it is corrosive, and it's a biological agent, or it's a dust of any kind that could become airborne. And if workers are exposed to the limit, it can cause harm to them. So hazardous substances come in various forms. They can be solid, they can be liquid, gas, vapor, fume, dust, or mist. Okay, so what are the hazards? Hazards are the exposure to this hazardous substance, such as cleaning agent, for instance. Then the risk includes skin irritation, burns, vomiting, respiratory disorder. They'll move to asbestos. Asbestos is used in building materials. And these asbestos are so fine that it can escape the air in our nostrils and find its way into the respiratory system and cause harm. So that's why I'm usually concerned with people that stay close to where they are demolishing a building. When you are demolishing a building, asbestos can become airborne, and people around there will be the ones to inhale this asbestos. It can be in the respiratory system for years undetected, and it will cause respiratory disorder or damage to the respiratory system. Example can be mesothelioma, inflammation of the lungs, and asbestosis, cancer of the lungs. Okay, so exposure to airborne concentration of asbestos, dust, and fiber is the hazard, and then risk include lung cancer, asbestosis, and mesothelioma. Okay, so hazard and risk of noise and vibration in the workplace is known as noise. Okay, so people are exposed to high level of noise every day in the workplace because they are not feeling the effect yet. They keep exposing themselves. It only takes time. When it comes to noise, over time, the damage is occurring. The magnitude of exposure and the duration of exposure is one of the hazards that has to do with noise. So hazards, we're looking at the hazard and risk of noise and vibration, right? So hazards are the exposure to the noise and the vibration at intensity. So I say the duration of exposure and the magnitude of exposure. If you are exposed to excessive noise or vibration, it causes harm to the body. So risk associated with noise include temporary hearing loss, stress, reduced productivity. While risk associated with vibration include loss of sensation on the fingers, pain, cold sensation, vibration, white finger. All this we're going to be looking in detail as we progress to level 2 and 3. So here is just to introduce you to them. All right. Then working at height, like I mentioned earlier, is one of the biggest cause of death in the workplace. In short, it's the biggest cause of death in the workplace. So people carrying out work at height without planning such work put themselves at risk, okay, of falling, and which can result to disabling injuries and deaths. So hazards associated with work at height include overreaching, failure of a fragile surface, poor edge protection. Risk associated with work at height include fall leading to serious injury, spinal, head, neck, or death. Okay, so hazard and risk of work transport vehicles. What are the hazards? Hazard associated includes collision, maybe collide with pedestrian or other moving vehicles where there is no clearly marked route for vehicles to operate, and then pedestrians get into that vehicle operation area and they could be knocked down. Or maybe the vehicle strike with a fixed or stationary object, hit by falling object, or falling from vehicle. So the risk includes falls leading to serious injuries like spinal, head, neck, and death. Okay? Now, the session objectives states different types of hazards and risks associated with various common work-related accidents. Okay, so we are done with this session. Any question, please quickly ask before we move to the next session. Do you have any question for me? Give us a few seconds to think. If there's any question, quickly pop that in the chat or indicate by raising your hand to let me know you have a question. All right, no question. We'll move to session 3. But I want to confirm that we're together. I've been speaking for some time now. Please indicate in the chat box if you are present with me. Indicate in the chat box. Just type present, present, present. I just want to be sure I'm not speaking to myself. Please let me indicate. All right, so that's a confirmation. Thank you. CMD. Okay, good, good, good. Thanks. So let's move to session 3. Introduction to workplace welfare. So by the end of the session, you should be able to state the benefits of good housekeeping in the workplace, then list the key welfare features required in the workplace as determined by legislation, and then identify the different types of safety signs used in the workplace. All right, so good housekeeping, what does it mean? Good housekeeping means a place for everything and everything in its place. So if you are here today in class, you're always looking for your tools, looking for your files, looking for your items. It's a sign of poor housekeeping. What does that mean? You have not designated a place for those things. That's why you're always looking for them. I can use an example for you. You know, in the home, some persons, they have a bowl on their center table. As they come in, that's where they drop their car key, especially when they don't have little children at home. While some people, they will have a nail on their wall or on their wardrobe. As soon as they come, they hang the car key there, meaning that place has been designated for their car key. Okay, so if you're always looking for items in your home or at work, it is a sign of poor housekeeping. You don't know where it is kept, you keep looking for it, and that can delay you getting the job done. It's a sign of poor housekeeping. Okay, so good housekeeping is an essential part of health and safety in the workplace. It means a place for everything and everything in its place. So keeping workspace tidy and orderly. So it comes with benefits, and that includes, it reduces risk of accidents. It also encourages a safe working culture, and then proactive approach to health and safety. Then respectful of other colleagues and users of the workplace. So when you keep your workplace tidy, you do not put others at risk. Example can be risk of tripping over your items that are left or stored inappropriately. Now, welfare. Please give me a moment. Just a moment. Okay, sorry, apologies, I'm back. Can you please quickly confirm that you can hear me? I need to take a very short break. Sorry, I'm with you now. Okay, thank you, Flight Lieutenant M. Sani, for confirming. Okay. So talking about the welfare futures, I've already laid a background for you about good housekeeping, all right? So now let's go at the welfare futures. Okay, so the law requires that employers have a statutory duty to provide adequate and appropriate welfare features and facilities. So welfare features are those amenities and services necessary for the well-being of employees, such as workstations, lighting, temperature, ventilation, noise, access, and exit routes. Okay, so in every workplace, these things are required to ensure a safe working condition for the workers. Imagine I come to your workplace and I'm tasty, and for me, I don't have access to portable drinking water. The employer is supposed to provide such for your workers as well as visitors. So I should be able to come to your workplace. There's water available that you can offer me. So many workplaces, you see that they have a water dispenser where people can have access to drink. Okay, so it's a responsibility of the employer to do such. Okay, there should be adequate lighting. The temperature should be conducive enough for the nature of task that is being carried out. So meaning if it's a cold season, you might need to provide some form of heater for the workplace. If it's a warm season, you need to provide air conditioning unit or fan that can make sure that the place is comfortable or conducive for the workforce to do their job. Excessive noise should be managed. Okay, so it's the responsibility of the employer. And so exit routes, people should be able to get into the workplace safely and exit safely. Okay, in emergency situation, there should be designated routes where people can use to leave the premises in emergency situation. Okay, so welfare facilities in the workplace, there should be suitable and sufficient toilets and washing facility. When we talk about the suitable toilet, meaning separate for male and female, and it all depends on the number of workers. Also, then an adequate supply of fresh, clean drinking water. Then facilities for clothes storage and changing facilities. So if your workplace requires you to change from your personal wear to your work wear, there should be a designated location where this can be done. All right. And then facilities for pregnant and nursing mothers. So nursing mothers should have a place where they can stay and breastfeed their children. It should not be in the common area where other workers are. So a place should be designated for such. They need to change diapers. They need to clean their baby, okay, after they've poo or whatever. There should be a place. It should not be in a common place where others are. Okay, that's what this is saying. Okay, then facilities for persons at work to eat their meals, including the provision of eat meals and prepare hot drinks. Okay, so there should be a place where we can eat our meals, okay, separate from where we carry out the job or where we do the work. For example, you work outdoor. There should be a place that will be designated that you leave that outdoor and go to an enclosure that will not expose you to harmful substance or hazardous substance that might deposit on that food. That place should be kept clean and conducive for such purposes. All right. So next we'll move to safety signs. In the workplace, we have different kinds of signs, and it's a standard. They have standard color codes and shapes when it comes to safety sign. So when you find yourself in some other countries, okay, where you don't understand their language, maybe in an Arab-speaking country where they speak Arabic, when you see that sign, you know that sign is passing a particular information. It is distinct. It is distinct. Okay, it is different from all other signage. So you will know. So we have warning sign, prohibition sign, mandatory sign, safe condition sign, and information sign. So the warning sign warns you of a potential danger. Okay, there are ways you can identify such signs. Then we'll look at them one after the other. So let's start with prohibition. A prohibition sign includes a cycle with a diagonal line. Whatever that line crosses, it warns you that you can't do that, or it informs you that that is not allowed. So what you see here now is a stick of cigarette. It means smoking not allowed. That's a prohibition sign for no smoking. You see a mobile phone there, phone will not be used. Then we have a mandatory sign. It tells you what you must do. So it's a blue sign, blue and white sign, like you can see, white, blue background, white pictogram. And so a mandatory sign, right, informs you of what you must do. So in this case, you can see a visibility shirt, visibility clothing shown. It means high visibility clothing must be worn. So you see this in some countries and you don't understand their language, you should know that this is what it's telling you should do. You see a hazard there, hazard must be worn. You see a boot there, safety boot must be worn. In my office facility, you see this sign on our walls close to our lights. It means that when you are leaving, you must switch off lights. So that symbol is there, showing a hand trying to switch off a light. All right, light must be switched off when you are leaving the premises. It's part of our own energy management system so that we can manage our energy. So if the light is not being used, why waste it? Why just leave it on? Okay, so it's a mandatory sign. Then we have a safe condition sign, and a safe condition sign tells you what to do, that it is safe to do. Okay, in this case, it's pointing a direction. Say it is safe to exit the building using this place. So it's safe. So you can find it for eye wash station, hand wash station, where the portable drinking water is kept. That is safe for you to drink such water. Okay, where the first aid kits are stored in the workplace. Then we have the warning sign. It's a yellow sign which indicates a warning. So you can see that first one is showing electrical hazard. The other one is forklift operation area. This other one is saying sleep hazard, and this is what explosion. Okay, it's warning you of a potential explosion. So it's a yellow background, black pictogram with black border line. Okay, then last is the information sign. So we have the fire information sign. So it tells you what to do in the event of a fire. It can give you a step-by-step instruction or a step-by-step direction on how to leave a premises or how to trigger the fire alarm, okay, or how to communicate to the emergency services. So information signs are either square or rectangle and have white symbols on the red background, especially for firefighting information, such as fire alarm, fire extinguisher, and fire hose. So we are done with this session. So by the end of the session, you should be able to state the benefit of a good housekeeping in the workplace, list the key welfare features required in the workplace as determined by legislation, and then identify the different types of safety signs used in the workplace. So any question for me? If you have any question, please quickly indicate in the chat box. All right. No question. Nobody's hand is up. Nobody's asking any questions. So let me move on quickly. So introduction to workplace safety procedure, right? Session objectives. So by the end of the session, you'll be able to state your responsibilities in reporting workplace incident and accidents. Then you list the first aid requirements in the workplace, list the different types of workplace personal protective equipment. So we'll be done with session 1. So what are the key facts? Okay, for this last session, I beg your pardon, we'll be done with session 4, and then we'll call it a day. We're going to be ending the session with a short video. Okay, so key fact about incident and accidents. So 123 workers killed in work-related accidents. Then 565,000 workers sustaining a non-fatal injury. And then 61,713 employees non-fatal injuries reported by employers under RIDO. Okay. Then 6 million working days lost due to non-fatal workplace injuries. And then 477,000 workers suffering from a work-related musculoskeletal disorder, which could be new or long-standing. Okay, why do they have this record? Because the law requires them to report accident and incident that occurs in the workplace. So they're able to have such records in place, and that is where RIDO comes in. And RIDO is what? Reporting Injuries, Diseases, and Dangerous Occurrences Regulation 2013. Okay, so we have some of these guidelines also found in the ILO code. Okay, notification of accident and incident. So as members of ILO, right, Nigeria is a member, we are expected to notify the authority. Okay, but it's not legally binding, so but we are supposed to do so. All right, so 139,000 workers suffering from a new case of work-related musculoskeletal disorder. So if they are not recording happenings in their workplace, how would they be able to have such data that can help them to check, all right, and see how they can minimize or prevent such from occurring in the workplace. Okay, 7.3 million working days lost due to work-related acts, musculoskeletal disorder. So what this is saying, I'm encouraging you that you should be able, in your workplace, which I know you have, because during our last session in class, they told us that you have accident book. So it's a good practice. So I think they call it incident log or something. I can't remember what it was called, but it's a good practice that you document those things that happen in your department. All right. At the end of the month, at the end of the year, you can review that and see how you can take action to prevent such occurrences. Okay. So next, we'll move on. Incident and accident reporting. So it is required by law that the employer must record and report certain types of accidents or injuries in the workplace. So it is your responsibility as an employee to report any incident or accident to your immediate supervisor or manager. So you must complete appropriate documentation, which is the accident book. So you must fill what happened, when it happened, that is the time, the dates, who was involved, and what were the actions that were taken. Was first aid administered, all right? And then further actions were taken. You need to do that, okay? So why report accident and incident in the workplace? It is a legal requirement, 1. And 2, it allows the employer to take actions to prevent such accidents occurring again. And then 3, it allows employers to indicate accidents, establish what caused them, and put control measures in place. And then it allows others to recognize mistakes in the workplace and adhere to workplace policies and procedures. Okay, so what are the first aid requirements? In every workplace, yes, we have put measures in place, but there are minor injuries that are likely to occur. And if these minor injuries occur, we should have trained first aiders and we should have first aid kits in place to administer first aid to such victims. Okay, not a situation where you now have to start figuring out how you want to move the person away. So a trained first aider can administer CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Maybe somebody just had a cardiac arrest, okay? Or somebody's gasping for breath, or someone is choking. There should be people that are trained that should be able to attend to them. Record has shown that as a result of lack of first aiders in the workplace, a lot of people have died. Something that first aid would have helped to manage until professional services come in to take it from there. But we've had record that nobody could administer to such victim, and from there they died. This is not acceptable. Okay. So requirements. Under the law, an employer has a legal responsibility to ensure that there is a sufficient first aid provision, which includes carrying out a first aid need assessment. So the kind of injury that occurs in Kaduna might not be similar to what occurs in Lagos, or the kind of injury that occurs in my workplace might not be the same with your workplace. So through a first aid risk need assessment, you can determine what should be in your first aid box, okay, the content of your first aid and what you should have, so that in case such happens, you have those things readily available to attend to such situation. So you provide first aid training based on the number of workforce you have, will determine the number of trained first aider you have. In some cases, you should train everyone. There are people that will be assigned to be responsible. Okay, then provide sufficient first aid kit for the types of risk in the work environment. Okay, we'll move quickly to the personal protective equipment. So you notice I'm moving very fast now because this class is supposed to end by 1. But don't worry, tomorrow we'll build on this before we get to level 3. And because it's level 3, you're going to also be writing an exam. So we'll build on this tomorrow and also to other days. So workplace personal protective equipment. Okay, there are types of PPEs to protect the following areas. We have the head and face, we have the eyes and ears. Okay, we have that protect the hand and arms, and then we have respiratory system that protect the respiratory system. Okay, so we have the reflective jackets, we have the face mask or nose mask, we have the hand and the goggle, we have the hand gloves, we have the hard hat, we have the safety boots, and they all have features, okay, that helps to protect like the reflective jacket now can make you visible in a workplace that could have poor lighting condition or where vehicular operations is, so that people can see you easily and not knock you down. Okay, so these are some of them: hard hats, reflective jackets, hearing protection like the ear plugs, ear muffs, right, for the hand gloves, and then for the feet we have the safety boots, and then the glasses, we have face shield, we have the welding face shield, we have the safety goggles, as well as the safety glasses. Okay, So remember, you must wear your personal protective equipment. It is there to protect you. And if the PPE is not available, speak to your supervisor or manager immediately. And then also your employer is legally required to provide you with PPE free of charge. You don't pay for it. Not like they do in some places in Nigeria where people are paying for personal protective equipment. That's absolutely wrong where there is a law. Okay, so by the end of the session, you'll be able to state your responsibility in reporting workplace incident and accident, and then list the first aid requirements in the workplace, and then list the different types of workplace personal protective equipment. So this is straightforward. So I'll be asking, is there any question? If there's any question for me, we'll be ending the session with a video. So from each location, I want you to watch this video, and then when we're done, we'll just have one or two comments or input from you, and then we'll call it a day. We'll meet again tomorrow by 9 a.m. All right, so I'll give you a couple of seconds to indicate in the chat box if you have a question or if you have any inputs. Please, you can raise your hand and then I will mute you. If not, you can drop in the chat box. Thank you. All right. I think that there are no questions. So someone is asking, can we have this lecture material? So your director of safety is going to share that with you in due course. Okay, he's working it out. So it will be sent to your email addresses when the time comes, when it's made available to him. All right. So yeah, here we go. So I'm dropping the link for the video now. So from all locations, let's quickly look at that video. And then when we're done, indicate done in the chat box. So we can just have a moment around it to discuss it. And then from there, we can call it a day and meet tomorrow. Thank you. So check the chat box for the video. Thank you. I hope we are done. It's a 19 minutes video. I want to believe we should be done by now. Okay, yes. So thanks. I'm beginning to get comments from everyone now that they are done. Great, great, great. So can I get a feedback from anyone? Maybe what's your reaction to the video? Do you have anything you want to share quickly as we round up in the next 6 minutes? Okay, indicate with the raise of hand or in the chat and I'll call upon you. I'll allow you to unmute, then you share, please. Okay, please indicate with a raise of hand. Okay, so if there are no comments or reaction from anyone, let's please, I know the video is straightforward, so let's activate our video. Let's have a group photograph as we end the session. Please, let's activate our videos, our cameras. Let's have a end of course group photograph. So we have come to the end of today's session. So I'm seeing some faces I saw in level 3. Especially GP Chaps, Oyong. I think I saw in level 3. Okay, let me unmute you. Let me ask you to unmute. You are speaking, but I can't hear you. So try to unmute.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, I can hear you, please.
So I participated in the last one, but while I was the last test, the last exam we did, you know, just like every other person, after when I finished, I didn't know that there was timing to it. So I finished, I was waiting to hear submit. I didn't hear submit. But eventually when I got to submit and I saw on my screen that that I could no longer submit. So when I discussed with the host, Air Commodore, AVM Peters, so he's the one that told me I could join today, this week's own again. So
Okay,
I don't know
okay.
what you have, if that's okay with you, sir.
No, it's fine. It's all right. It's fine. It's fine. I just
So
saw
the
your
last
face.
exam, I finished the exam and submitted. Unfortunately, I didn't know that there was timing to it. So that's why.
Okay, it's all right. No problem. Good to have you in class.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good. So good. I'm seeing some faces now. So let me just quickly have the group shot. Then we close today, and then we come back tomorrow morning by 9 a.m. So let me just look into the camera. Just look at the camera for those that are closer to the camera. Okay. So let me go to the next one now. Yeah, good. Just a moment and I'll be done. Okay, the last one. All right, that's it. Thank you, everyone. See you bright and early tomorrow by 9 a.m. for level 2. Have a wonderful day. Bye. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm done. Thank you so much. And see you bright and early tomorrow. See you bright and early tomorrow by 9 a.m. Have a wonderful day. Bye.